Alright, what's up, y'all? We're back, and of course, we're going to talk a little bit of wrestling now. Before I get too much into anything, I just wanted to say thank you to those of you that have been coming through to check out my videos and everything. It means an awful lot. And, of course, I've talked in the past about how there's been a discrepancy between all the different videos that I have, between the wrestling videos, the actual sports videos, and so forth. And if nothing else, I guess I kind of want to apologize about that, especially because really I think it's important to remember, as a content creator, or as someone who aspires to be hopefully a successful content creator, it's just important to embrace everything that you're able to accomplish, regardless of the scale or really whatever the details. It doesn't even matter. So I just wanted to show some appreciation on that. And again, I just want to encourage everybody, for those of you who are new, definitely hit that subscribe button. Definitely hit that thumbs up if you enjoy the video, because it certainly means a lot and it's going to help the channel go a long way. I normally don't talk about it like that, but I just figured I'd throw that in there real quick, just for the fact. And if nothing else, with that in mind, we'll go ahead and jump right into the topics, which it's going to be all about the ladies here, or at least a few of them here. Especially in this particular case, of course, we've got this new faction here with the WWE, which includes Zoe Stark, Shayna Baszler, and Sonya Deville. Now, I like this for a variety of reasons. This is going to be a powerhouse stable like you wouldn't believe. And individually, they've been built to be powerhouses as it is. Now, you put the three of them together, that's some pretty interesting shit, and even more so for the fact that you had the Unholy Alliance, or whatever Alba Fire and Isla Dawn are calling themselves. Either way, they actually had the audacity to get into these three's faces and just talk their shit. Not that they shouldn't, they are the tag champs, but it's just funny because they're actually people that probably forgot that they are the tag champs. That being said, that probably isn't going to last much longer with these three around. I mean, I think that you have a much more potent, much more lethal female version of the New Day, where I feel like you could probably have their own New Day type of rules, where, if anyone is a champion, all three of them are champions. So, for example, if they have the tag titles, all three of them are tag champions. So New Day rules, in other words, but applying to them. And of course, if any of them should win either the Women's World or the WWE Women's World title, or the WWE Women's title, all three of them are the champion. And of course, with the pending, perhaps, I don't know what the word I was looking for, but I guess the pending edition of the Women's Intercontinental and United States Championships, same rules apply there, basically, is the point. So, even for all of that being the case, it's just really cool for a variety of reasons. Again, we've seen what Zoe and Shayna have done so far. I mean, at least when booked correctly. I mean, it's a very, very fantastic combination. And they even started off, as rivals, going against each other. And I gotta say, it's actually made for a very, very good tandem. And then you throw Sonya Deville into this, they're just nothing but good things that can come of it. Especially for Sonya, just given the things that she's been through just over the last couple of years. I mean, a situation where it was a stalker, and I believe an attempted kidnapping, for that matter, where, I mean, I don't even want to try to imagine what that has to be like, No matter how you slice that up, whichever side of that you want to be on, stalker, kidnapping, who the fuck wants to deal with that, honestly? Like, that just needs to be all you need to say about that. And then you couple that with the fact that she ended up having an unregistered weapon, or I guess it was registered in her home state of, I believe it's New Jersey, but she was in Florida at the time. And the cops found it in her car. And I don't remember how that situation unfolded, but of course that wound up causing some problems. And, just given that she's had to deal with these things, it's just good to see her back, and she's being put into an awesome situation. You can't go wrong with the Triple H era. I mean, I don't know that we're really calling it that, but we're going to go with that. But speaking of great things of the Triple H era here, if you were watching Monday Night Raw last night, well, you saw this. To what extent, I guess it depends on where you are. I'm not even going to get into that particular detail. One thing I do want to point out, of course, as stated, the previous video I just did earlier was where I was talking about the Chicago Bulls. It is now actually 10 minutes to midnight. So, again, you'll be seeing this Wednesday morning. But with that being in mind, also you would think, of course, I should have seen NXT by now. I have not. But I will talk about that sometime. I'll probably be doing the same thing. Maybe I'll even cut a little bit of something before it gets too late. We'll see. I mean, it just really depends on how the night goes, but definitely look for something by Thursday morning at the latest on that. Either way, back to this. All the things that could be said about this, man. It was just an enjoyable episode of Raw. Last week, I feel like they fell off a little bit, just being a go-home, going into Money in the Bank, but, I mean, it was still pretty good for what it was worth, but not as good as last night with the Fallout episode. And maybe I'll talk about that at another point, but I wanted to talk about this specifically because, let me just count the ways on it. We start with this backstage segment. Actually, it doesn't even start there. It actually goes back to real early in the night. I want to say one of the first 2 or 3 segments, and you see Adam Pearce basically like low-key giving someone the business, talking about how da-da-da-da, and you want to back out of this because of what now? And then of course they pan the camera out, and you got Dom on the scene, and of course he talks about how he doesn't want to be in the main event mixed tag match with Liv Morgan, because he's trying to avoid Liv for obvious reasons. But of course from there we wind up having them backstage. They're going over strategy for the mixed tag, and then of course they wind up stretching only for the rest of Judgment Day to walk in, and boy, just everything about that was hilarious from there. But then of course you fast forward to the main event. Dom ultimately gets the pin on Rhea, and not much later after that gets the pin on Liv, which it's, yeah, that kind of pin. But anyway, it just is so funny because they're on the mat just doing that horizontal dance, or like mimicking it. Anyway, basically shades of the old Edge Lita sex celebration. You know what? Let me stop on that. Next thing you know, you have Rhea's music hit, and it was just amazing, especially given the fact that there was a lot of speculation that Rhea was going to return on last night's episode, which she did. I didn't really think about it like that. My thought process wasn't geared to where I was just so gung-ho about that aspect of it, I guess. Like, it just didn't really hit me as something that really was even on the radar, for that matter. But it was. I'm glad it was. I'm glad it happened. And of course, ultimately, she chases Liv away out of the arena, only to go into the ring, confront Dom, and then ultimately give Dom the cold shoulder, even though Dom is all, oh baby, I'm glad you're back, blah, blah, blah. And of course, Rhea's just not having of it. And then they just cut to the copyright graphic, and that's pretty much that. Again, depending on where you are in the world, you got to see them go backstage. If not, that's where it ended for you. Either way, this is fantastic. The storytelling that they've been doing with this is just supreme, just high-end quality. I don't know that there's enough that could be said about that, and I feel like I'm saying too much because I do want to go into one other topic, but man, was this fun to watch last night. But speaking of fun to watch, I do need to bring up one Miss Stephanie McCoy, because it turns out that she's actually been receiving offers from WWE in addition to AEW. Now, I'm not really sure what her contract situation is where CMLL is concerned. Of course, I know she has a couple of their championships, so there's that. She just dropped the New Japan Strong Women's Championship to Mercedes at Forbidden Door a couple of weeks ago in a really fantastic match, which probably didn't have the energy behind it from the fans, but following, I believe it was the 6-man tag with Joe, Hook, Shibata, and the Learning Tree. I mean, that would have been tough to follow anyway. I mean, I've seen so many similar situations that just seemingly fell flat. But of course it led to the heel turn of Mercedes Moné, but that's a whole other subject for another time. It's just funny to me that this is all being revealed just from out of nowhere. I actually had my best friend Darren text this to me the other day, and it was actually last night, especially as we were watching Raw. It really doesn't surprise me at all. It really doesn't. Especially if they saw that match, and any of her other matches for that matter. Why are you not making an offer to her? If you're not making an offer to her, you need to be making offers to Jordan Grace, or in the case of WWE, you need to be making sure that there's not an offer big enough for Tony Khan to make that you can't match just so you keep her in-house. But, even with that being the case, especially given the hypothetical that Becky actually does sign with AEW. Now, you think about that, you think about the fact that Ricochet is also expected to sign with AEW. I mean, maybe there's probably not as much to go around for Stephanie McMahon. I really wouldn't rule that out. I do also need to point out the fact that I've also said in the past, I don't really give a fuck one way or another where any of these people sign. Just as long as it's a situation that works out to be beneficial for them. Oh, and I forgot about Dijak. I'm pretty sure we can expect Dijak to be all elite before too long as well. But even with that being the case, it's not like Tony Khan won't go out of his way to make sure that he still lands her. And just given the help that the women's division needs, even with Mercedes there, with the return of Dr. Britt Baker, and even with all the good things that they do still have going on with that division in AEW, wouldn't hurt to just keep her away from WWE. And I feel like that's still going to be the outcome in the long run. I think that AEW outbids WWE on this one. But in that same vein, I'm still of the mindset that Becky still re-signs with WWE. I'm anticipating that to be the case, but then again, maybe I shouldn't be so sure anymore. I mean, who knows with these sort of things. Yeah, you just can't really be too sure anymore. I mean, I'm hearing about Joe Tessitore signing with WWE now. And I don't even have a problem with that. That's actually a great thing. And that's something we'll probably talk about at another time. But for now, that's all I got on this, so y'all know what it is. And like I said before, I appreciate y'all coming through to check me out. Definitely hit that like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are new. And of course, let everybody else know that the content's definitely worth the time if you feel that way. And with that in mind, I am A&J. There will be more. Thank you very much.